Today we're going to talk about point slope form. This is another form of an equation of a line. Last time we talked about slope intercept form, and that's when we had a slope and an intercept. So kind of a quick review. We had slope intercept, which was the form y equals mx plus b, where m was my slope and b was the y-intercept. Today we're going to talk about point slope form. From the type or from the name of this form and based on what we know about slope intercept form, what two characteristics or two things are we going to need to write this type of form or this form? We're going to need a point and a slope. We're going to need a point and a slope. But the formatting of the point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, you might have seen some of these, some equations that look like this when we were learning about slope form or slope intercept form, and we talked about solving for y so that we could get it in slope intercept form. You're not going to forget, or you're going to not need to forget how to do that. In order to graph this form of equation, we're going to have to convert back into this form. And we do that by solving. But let's go ahead and look at what each part is. So y1 is the y coordinate and the point. This is our x coordinate. As in, and then this is our slope. M still is slope. But the x and y coordinate, if we have the ordered pair x comma y, this is the x, that's the y. Okay, so there is a lot that we can do with when we see an equation. For example, if I'm given y minus 4 equals 3 times x plus 2. I'm going to want, if I've given the equation like this, I'm going to either want to solve it for y in order to get it in slope intercept form, or I'm going to want to figure out what the characteristics were. What was the point and what was the slope? So I know that my m, and then I need an xy. That's what I'm looking for. So my m, based on our formatting of y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, and we're going to repeat that a lot, but y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So what is my m? I'm hoping you said 3, because here is my m. And then my coordinate, my ordered pair, would be -2 and 4. Now you might be wondering, where did I get the negative for the 2? Our formula for point slope form is y minus y1 and minus x1 over there. If I have a positive, that means that I'm really saying minus a -2, which then turns into a plus. So that's how I can look at the point slope form and figure out what a point and a slope is for the graph. And then I could take that information and I can graph it, or I can put in it into slope-intercept form to graph it. But if you're going to graph on the calculator, you'll have to do it on slope-intercept form. But okay, let's say that I'm given the point -3, -4, and I have a slope of 2/3. And I want to write it in point slope form. So if point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, then I'm going to substitute those three items. So y minus, and I'm going to look for my y1, which is this. This is y1. This is x1. So y minus a -4 equals my m, which is 2/3 times x minus a -3. So simplifying that, minus the negative, that's addition. So y plus 4 equals 2/3 times x plus 3. So we've written that equation in point slope form. If I want to turn that into slope-intercept form, I'm going to just do a couple steps to solve the equation for y. So I'm going to rewrite it over here. Y plus 4 equals 2/3 x plus 3, or 2/3 times x plus 3, I'm sorry. So first thing I would do is I'm going to distribute my slope. If I'm solving for slope-intercept form, I'm solving for y, I'm going to distribute that. So y plus 4 equals 2/3 x, and then plus 2. I got that because 2 times 3 is 6, divided by 3 is 2. Or if I looked at my 3, and my 3 could cancel out. Okay, so I'm not done. I still have this constant over here that needs to be gone. I need y all by itself. So if you remember back from our first unit, we have to do the opposite operation to get it to the other side of the equation. So -4, and what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. So y equals 2/3 x minus 2. So that is how you would convert it into slope, go from point slope form to slope-intercept. Okay, so I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but our essential question is similar to the same one from slope-intercept form. Given certain characteristics of a linear function, how can you write an equation of a line? What are the advantages of each form of the equation? So the different forms, what are the different advantages? That's the new part. So we're going to look at a couple practice problems. All right. We're going to write an equation in point slope form given a point on the line and the slope of the line. So here's our point and here's our line. This is our x1. This is our y1. I know this because every coordinate ordered pair comes in xy. It does not switch. So I need y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. I'm going to write y and then subtract, oops, going crazy with my touches here. Y, subtract my y1, so we're doing this one first, 3 equals my m, which is 1/4, times x minus the x coordinate. And that is our point slope form. I will remind you that the y here and this x here are a part of the equation of the line, so we do not substitute anything in for them. So that first y and the first x, if it doesn't have the little subscript number, meaning the little small number next to it, we do not substitute for it. That stays there. As you can see, we still have y and we still have x. Okay, Okay. For each equation in point slope form, list the slope of a line and a point on the line. So what we're doing here is we're going to figure out what the point was. So our equation is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Our slope, represented by our m, is -7. And our point, in ordered pair, the x coordinate goes first, which would be 3. It's not -3 because we do subtract. That subtraction is a part of the formula for point slope form. So we are taking whatever that number is, or if it says -3, then I know my point was +3 for the x coordinate. And same thing for 2 for my y. So here is, this part is pretty simple. I'm going to let you work on that page. This one is kind of doing what we talked about as far as here's 2 points. You might have to find the slope, then write it with a point. So we can do this one, just a quick reminder of how to find slope. So our slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I still would really appreciate it, just like I do for every problem. I would really appreciate if you would write down the formulas that you need, because I guarantee you it'll help you memorize it, and it helps you kind of think and plan, okay, how am I substituting? Am I substituting correctly? It kind of helps that process and allows you to double check your work. So if that is our slope formula, I'm going to say this is x1, y1, x2, y2. So finding our slope. Y2 is -3 minus a -5. Oops. -5 over my x2, which is 12 minus 8, or x1, equals, okay, so -3 plus 5 would be +2, as in, because there's the positive is more, 5 minus 3 is 2, keep the bigger sign. 12 minus 8 is 4. So my m, I'm going to simplify that, but I'm going to keep it in a fraction. So this is my m. And I'm going to use my x1 and y1 as my x1 and y1 that I need for my point slope form. Remember, point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay? So I know what my m is, I know what my x1, and I know what my y1 is. So I can write this in point slope form. Y minus, in the y coordinate, would be a -5 or +5, instead of saying subtract a -5, equals my slope, which we just solved for, is 1/2 times x minus my first x value of 8. So that's it in point slope form. Now let's convert that into slope intercept form. First thing I need to do is distribute my slope. It's 1/2 x minus, and 8 divided by 2, or 1/2 of 8, is 4, equals y plus 5. So I need to subtract 5 to get it to the other side, and I have to do it to both sides. That cancels out. So y equals 1/2 x minus 9. Okay, we're allowed to write an equation in either way. Now, we've talked about when we're given a table, we can find the intercept if we look for a 0. Looking at this first table, I see an x value of 0. So that tells me I know what my intercept is. I just have to find my slope. So to find my slope, remember it's the change of y over the change of x, which this is plus 0.5. This is plus 2. So 2 over 0.5, 2 divided by a half, is really saying 2 times 2. So that would be 4. Oh, wait, I completely did that incorrectly because I'm putting my x value on top. So it's the y value, it's the change of y over the change of x. See, this is why we write our formulas. So it's 0.5 over 2. We could also look at that as 0.5 is saying a half times a half, which would equal 1/4. Because this is 0.5. Oh, yeah. 0.5 times 1/2. So if we change 1/2 or 0.5 into a fraction, then that's how we get a half times a half. You just multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. So that's how we get a slope of 1/4. That equals my m. Now, looking at this table, I know that I can find my intercept, my y-intercept, because I have an x value of 0, and I know that my intercept is -8 then. Knowing that piece of information, it is much easier to write this equation in slope-intercept form. So y equals mx plus b, where my m is 1/4 and my b is -8. So I'm going to write it in slope-intercept form. Y equals 1/4 x minus 8. This table over here, however, does not give me the intercept. So it will be easier to write it in point slope form. So finding the slope, let's find the slope. This is -15. This is plus 5. That's -15 plus 5. Change of y over change of x to get my slope. Change of y is -15 over 5. That equals -3 for my m. Okay? I'm not given my intercept, but I'm given lots of points. I'm going to use 5 and -1 as my point. So this is my x1, this is my y1. If I have the format y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, I'm going to substitute where y minus our y value is a -1, so plus 1 equals my m, my slope of -3 times x minus, and then our x value of 5. So that's how to write it in, or from a table, going to slope and or point slope form. I get the words confused because they're very similar, but point slope form. Okay, so applying point slope form, we're going to take this and we're going to graph it. I want to look at number 1 on this. We're going to take this. First, we're going to list the point and what the slope is, and then we're going to graph it. So if I have the formula y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, then my slope is 1/3, and my point is 3, 5. So if that's my point, I'm going to go ahead and place that on the graph. So my x coordinate is 3, so that means I'm going to go to the right 3, and I'm going to go up 5 because it's positive 5. So over 3, and let me show you what I'm doing with my pointer. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my first point goes there. This is my first point. Now, in order to graph this, I'm going to use my slope. Remember, our slope is our rise over run. Our rise over run. So I'm going to go up 1, my rise of 1, 1, 2, 3. If we want to highlight that, that's up 1 as a rise and run of 3. So my new point is right here. Now, I like to graph as many points as possible. So that means I need to go the normal direction of our rise over run. And then I'm going to go in the opposite direction as well. Meaning, instead of going up and to the right for a positive slope, I'm going to go down 1 and to the left 3 for another point. And I'm going to repeat that until I can fill up the graph. This allows it for me to draw a much straighter line for the more points that I have. So, see if that'll, see, I'm not very good at this. That's much better. Okay. So, a couple things to do to make this graph correct. I need to label my axis, and I'm also going to label my line. I'm going to write the equation of the line that I was given. X minus 3. So that's how you would graph an equation based or in point slope form. Or if we want to go from the graph to point slope form, we're going to look at this. I'm going to look at my first point. I'm going to find my first point by what is my x, what is my y value, what's my x value. So I went over 5 and up to 7 to get that first point. So that means my ordered pair is 5, 7. So let's find our slope. Our rise over run. This is going down as I go from left to right. So is that a positive slope or negative slope? Be negative. And we're rising, we're going down 3 to minus 3, and we're running 1. So our rise over run would be rise over run is negative 3 over 1. Negative 3 divided by 1 is negative 3. So my slope is negative 3. So to rewrite that in our formula, it's already written for me, so I'm not going to rewrite it again. Y minus 7 equals negative 3 times x plus, minus 5. I think you can answer C and then work on this page. You're just kind of converting and working with both forms. If you have any questions, please let me know.